So let's work on how we present errors. For example, if I again submit this in an invalid state here, if I remove required to demonstrate this again, if I click save, we jump to the top of this page, which is not ideal. It's not obvious that something went wrong. Hence, I want to show an error box up there, which in the end just informs us that saving the comment failed. Then down here at the comment form, I want to highlight the invalid input by giving it a red border and a slightly red background and changing the label color to red. And I want to change how the list of error messages is presented. I don't want to have bullet points here. Now for this, we're going to change some CSS code, and you'll also find the finished CSS code attached again. But we'll also need to change our template a little bit. But let's start with the CSS code. And there, for example, for this list of errors, we have the error list class added to this list. So we can use that to change how this list is shown. So if I change my error list here, I want to change the list style to none to remove the bullet points. I'll add a margin of 0.5 rem top and bottom, but 0 left and right. And I'll remove all padding, which I have. I also want to change the text color of the items in that list and change this to red, though I'll not use the red like this. Instead, let's maybe pick this red color here. And with that, this is how it now looks like. I also, as I said, want to change the look of my input field and of my label. For this, I need to make sure that they are aware of the fact that there is an error. And that's something where we have to dive into the template. As I did it earlier in the course, I conditionally want to add a CSS class to this div, which holds the invalid form field if that field is invalid. And for this, we can again add a if tag here to check if form field errors is true, which it will be if there are errors. And if that is the case, if we should have errors for that form field, I'll add the invalid CSS class to this div. And now we can utilize this invalid class to change the look, to change the styling. For example, to select any labels in invalid blocks and giving them a color of that same red color I'm using up there. I also want to select inputs or text areas in invalid divs, in invalid input blocks, and change the border color there to that red, and change the background color also to a red, but here I'll pick a very light red like this. So that now we do highlight it like this, and if I reload, it looks like that, therefore, making it obvious that something is wrong with this input. Now, as I said, I also want to have a box up there which tells me that something is wrong with the form as a whole. And we can achieve this with Django as well. We get our comment form here, and that is the created form, the form based on our model form. Now, conveniently, on the overall comment form, we also can check the errors key to check if the form overall, so if any of the inputs in the form has an error. And I want to do that here above my main block. There, I want to add another if tag and check if the overall comment form has errors. And if that is the case, if we do have errors here, I want to render a new div here, which is simply an alert box informing me about the errors. So here we could say, saving the comment failed. Please check the comment form below the post and fix your errors. That's something we could be saying here if our form has errors. So with that, if we reload with the errors which we have, we see that here. And actually, I want to have it above that header part. So I'll cut this and move it above this section, still in the content block though, but at the very top of the content block. And then now if I reload, that's where my error box is. Now, it's not visible here because of how things are styled, and therefore we want to work on the styling, and I'll give this an ID of error box or alert or whatever you want to name it, and go to the post detail CSS file to style it. So here I'll select this alert by ID because I added an ID of alert to this div, and then give this a margin. And here I actually want to use the margin I used for my summary. There I have a margin set up like this to have appropriate spacing to the top, taking the header into account. And I'll use that margin and add this as a margin for my alert box. I'll also give my alert box a border of 1 pixel solid and this red color, and a background color of this light red here. I'll also add a padding of 1 rem. Let's save everything and see this. And this doesn't look too bad, however, it's way too big. So actually here, I'll give this a width of 90% and a max width of 40 rem, this alert box. And now we have this clearly visible alert if saving our comment failed. Now to make editing and fixing the error even more convenient, we can utilize the fact that our comment form section has an ID of comment form, and we can therefore link to that. So we can add a link here in our alert box where we say fix, where we have a reference where we simply add a hash symbol at the end of the currently loaded page, and we then use this ID here. And that is a way of linking to fields or to elements with IDs on the page you're currently on. So if I do that and save this, we now got this fix link, and I can click on that to be taken to that comment form. Now I just want to style this a little bit differently. I want to have it look like a button. So therefore, back in the CSS file, I'll target the anchor tag in this alert and remove any text decoration. Give it a border of 1 pixel solid and this red color, a background color of this red color, and a text color of white. Give it a padding of 0.5 rem, 1.5 rem, and a border radius of 6 pixels. And with that, it looks more like a button. Now, actually, let me remove the padding to top and bottom, reduce it a bit to 0.25 rem. And with that, if we now reload and have a look at the box, this looks better. Now, feel free to adjust the styling however you want. I'm, however, happy with that. Now, if we load this page without an error, so if I enter it manually again and load this page again, we don't see this, and we don't see the error style down there. That's really just something which we do see if we do submit something invalid. So if I again enter some data here, and I submit the name without a value, which I can do by removing the required attribute on that field, then we see this box, we see the error down there, and we can now, of course, fix that and then save the comment successfully. So that's how we can implement the comment feature, at least regarding the form that we need for that. Now, of course, let's make sure we also show those comments.